All right, we ready to do this thing?
Heck, I think I was ready yesterday.
Oh. Welcome to this episode of the Prestige-ish Media Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Lake, and with me, he's divested in beauty, blind, hideous, hairless, and thick of waist, but he is the most passable co-host we have for a House of the Dragons podcast. It's Dan McNair.
Thanks for that lovely intro, Craig. You whinge and self-flatuate at a level that is just astounding.
And this is season 3, episode 5. And you're unbowed and unbent, from what the ladies tell me. So, initial thoughts and rating on this episode.
We are still circling the drain on this one. I gave it a 7. We've had a couple episodes in a row where it feels like we're starting to spin our wheels in the mud. So that's my initial reaction.
I thought it closed strong. So I started, the first 11 minutes were rough for me. I took a break. I almost didn't want to finish it. We got it in the pre-podcast, but I had a little Apple alarm fiasco last night. And so I didn't have the normal pressure to watch in the time frame that was needed. And I got 11 minutes in, checked the clock, and was like, I don't know that I even want to watch this. But I thought the second half of the episode paced a lot better. I'll give it a 7.5 again. I was happy by the time we circled the drain, as you say. So let's talk about it. We start off with the Northerners and Lord Tully. They're trying to get to the Stony Sept. There's this Kristen Cole sets up this ambush where I don't know if they're Northerners or Rivermen or both, but they keep ambushing camps and throwing a lot of misdirection, and they're going to try to beat them. They think they're going to the Stony Sept, so they're going to try to beat them there. Any thoughts on how that's playing out? Do you have an appetite for Gwaine and Kristen Cole at this point?
We do get big doses of the two of them. And it seems like between the Greens doing the Kristen Cole guerrilla warfare and this other Sherwood Forest crew of the Northerners, they do a do-si-do through this episode where in the end nobody really gets anywhere. It felt a Lord of the Rings thing where they just keep walking through the forest for 9 hours and then at the end, oh geez, we've got another movie of just walking through the forest. So I find myself rooting for Tully and the guys from the north. And I think they get the upper hand here, but it's we're going to burn your bridges and then we're going to burn your bridges. And then I'll take the high road and you'll take the low road and we'll both be on the same side of the river.
Now, the Tullys are who Ned Stark married a Tully, correct?
Catelyn, yeah.
The
And
second
also,
worst wife in TV history. Go ahead. After
worse.
Skylar.
Yeah, I knew you were going to put Skylar on the board. But I would have to say between Catelyn and her sister, Lady Erin, up in the Vale, not a lot of winners in that party.
No, not for sure. I would consider her, the Veil Lady, as more of a tertiary kook than a main character. But with all of that said, yeah, I know you're more of a knowledge bearer of the wooden sept, but what is the stony sept? What's that all about? Do you know where it is or what we're doing here?
In my map lore, I'm not even sure. They're all just somewhere in the Riverlands, which it's how people in New York and Los Angeles view the Midwest, I think. There's just a bunch of states there, some forests, some rivers, and they don't care a lot. And that's kind of how I look at this, even though I'm from the Midwest.
Or how Jessica Z looks at New York and New Jersey and the shores. Yeah, so I guess I might just go a little out of order here and just let's do the whole Kristen Cole dance. So
Okay.
there were periods in this where I was like, is Gawain gay for him or what do we got going on here? He at some point asks him about serving his house, which what have we had? We had Rhaenyra and the orange baskets or something rejecting him over
He
duty.
wanted to run off and sell fruit in Essos or something. And she turned him down and laughed at him like, I'm gonna be queen. I'm not gonna give it to run off with you and sell oranges. And he got butthurt over that.
One thing I'll say, and I actually do not know this is more speculation, but I will say Facebook House of the Dragon is just spoilers waiting to happen. They give you everything. I don't know what's true or not here, but I think obvious Alicent was at some point banging Kristen Cole. We've got Darren. He's darker haired, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it could mean something. Do we have a Kristen Cole bastard on our hands? I don't know, as Lord
So
Corliss
you're
would
saying
say.
maybe Darren isn't a Targaryen,
Yes,
but he can command a dragon?
but so can McGee,
But they
Ulf,
got the
and
Targaryen
Alf,
bastard
and
blood.
we don't know what any of these guys have. I'm just saying I don't know for sure, but it's possible that he's a bastard. And also, he's got a dragon and we've seen him ride it. I don't know that I've seen him on dragon. I've seen him around dragon. So just putting that on the board. So
Okay.
with that all said, Kristen Cole, in one way or another, has been separated, or wasn't he like sent off by Alicent after he was tired of sullying his robes and cloths of honor? I think at different times we've seen him vacillate between honorable and dishonorable. And now, as we round the corner here, he's like, I'm the greatest and most honorable warrior that's ever lived, and I'm going to die as that. And Gwaine, not so eager to die. Turns out he has something to live for, at minimum, his home for now in Old Town. We close out, which I do think is laid over as the show historically has done some ending scenes. We've seen better, but still very good quality. I think it's the second Any Given Sunday, or maybe I'd call this the Varsity Blues speech at the end. What did you make of this Kristen Cole gamut? I was ready for him to die last season, but I thought this was a good episode for him. Where do you stand on all this?
Tired of Kristen Cole. I think in Gwen's eyes, he gives Kristen Cole a great honor, but Kristen Cole saying he's the realm's greatest fighter, he's the realm's greatest bitch, was my reaction to him. I didn't like the scene where there's the blackjacks or whatever that their horses ride up on.
Okay, I think they called those crow's feet or something.
Yeah.
And they seem to be metal, right? Because at first I was like, are they real crow's feet? But they make them, but they call them crow's feet, right?
Yeah, because I guess they're that shape. But I didn't know
Yeah.
what was happening when all the horses started dropping. And I thought that was tragic, but the warfare that Cole was doing to have it done back to him, there was a poetic justice. And now you just got to hike through the forest like the Lost Boys and Peter Pan. So that it happened to Kristen Cole, I felt a little bit vindicated because I'm still rooting for the Tully side of it.
I can't figure out if Gwaine fancies his sister or fancies Kristen Cole. I thought maybe when he pulled that leech off, he was hoping it was old Kristen doing the leech.
I
But
thought a red priestess was going to throw it into a fire and kill another king.
a king, kill them all. You can definitely kill them all in this group. And I got to be honest, any time in history, I can't root for the Tullys. They suck too. So I hope that little kid burn the leech and burn the little Tully kid too while you're at
He's
it.
like the one good little kid in the show.
He's a boss. I'm sorry. I'm out of control. All right. I think we've got that part handled. And I guess we'll handle this next part in chunks too, because it's another dandy of an episode. So we get the Aemond and the Alice stuff. So first, it's like the first bounty hunters come. Then we get his second round of like almost suckling at her teat. We got everything but a suckle from him. It reminds you of him in the pleasure house with the old maid. Go ahead.
There is that, but there's also, and I think it occurred to me before they covered it in the after episode, but the parallel between Damon having the nightmares in Harrenhal and now Aemond is having the same experience of hearing voices and fever dreams and all of that sort of thing.
And I did actually make a note on that about the after episode because they're like, hey, remember the most dog part of last season? Let's revisit it exactly the same with Aemon. I do feel like it hasn't been as bad, but I don't know where they're going if it's going to get closer because the Damon stuff wasn't as bad in smaller doses. It was just too much of the season. I had heard some people speculate whether I think it's Matt Smith who plays Damon was like how much he was available last season or at the same time as others. Maybe that had something to do with it. But I feel like that's just an excuse for every show at this point.
I
With
agree with you. This happening to Amon isn't as bad, but at the same time, we're getting a lot more Alice Rivers, and the more I see of her, the less I enjoy it.
I think that is true. I think both the dream sequences and Alice Rivers are a less is more. And frankly, Amon's kind of a less is more. And more clothes is better too. More is more there because I don't want to see his Mr. Burns physique in another scene. But we go from A to B to C. It looked like Northerners crawling the walls ultimately. I thought those were more Northerners than Tullys at the end. But they go to give old Alice Rivers a good witch rape, and Aemon steps in, and
Stop raping, sir.
we get Aemon doing all of his handiwork, and then we do get this cross cut. This is where I'll bleed into this other section a little bit. We get this cross cut of him whinging to Alice about how his mom never really loved him and only loved Aegon, and then we get Aegon whinging to Larys about how his mom never really loved him. And Laris is like, what I wouldn't give to wank off to those feet another day. Any thoughts on this dynamic between the two brothers not feeling loved by their mom? I think she's a lot of things. And I think, if anything, she was too coddling of them. So weird to hear them whinging about it. What's your take on the whinging boys?
Yeah, they're both pretty whiny and petulant, if you ask me. And I, the only way that I would criticize Allison is that she enabled these kids too much. If she's
Yeah,
loving anybody too much, it's Helena. She's,
I
a
think
child of the
it's
spotlight.
I think that's great last hope. But even with her, she's ready to throw one of her kids to the wind and lie to her about it. So I've always contended that Allison is not she Rhaenyra isn't amazing, but she doesn't claim to be. But Allison just pretends to be this straight shooter and above it all the time. Almost like Cole in a different sense. They have this sense of honor that doesn't really exist, but they've convinced themselves of it. So anyway, I did have a note on Alice Rivers pulling a Batman Begins when she had all the bats fly out of the cave or whatever. I assumed there were real bats. I thought we were going to get a spooky ghost sequence, but she did tip to some of the Harrenhal lore, which we did cover last season, but we haven't really talked about it this season, that it's haunted. And so she really digs into that you don't have to go to a Wikipedia page for it. Anything else on these two knuckleheads?
Just that I hope no bats were harmed. Obviously, we've seen horses harmed. This show and PETA are not doing well. And then you come to the killing of dragons, and the people who love animals have got to be having a fit.
Dan, I don't like to work blue. And speaking of animals, but it has been a long time since I've seen this much pussy in one episode. Cats. We're talking about cats. They're everywhere. I assume this has
Cats live at the Airy Crown Theater for 3 nights and 3 nights only. Memories of the way King's Landing used to be.
I am assuming at some point the cats are gonna pay off somehow. They're gonna be like eating a dead baby or Helena's fetus or something. But do you have any clue where there was no payoff to the cats other than they're just there to get the rats?
Yeah, and I think that shows Alan or Adam, the influence
Adam.
of.
I think Adam was the one you suggested. I don't know anymore.
Thanks a lot, guys, for making all the names so
I
much
think
different.
I think Adam's the one that looks like Rock, and by that I just mean bald and maybe a little bulkier. And
So I had it wrong before, but I can settle this once and for all
I think
somewhere in there.
I guess Alan is the bald one.
Because I had him back. Adam is the dread one with a dragon. D for dragon. Adam has a dragon. What do you got
I'm just
on?
gonna show you what he looks like in the books while we're here.
Look up Bela and Raina while you're at it too. If they were cast like they were portrayed in the books, you'd be enjoying this a little bit more, I think.
I don't know. There's no clean exit from there, but something else Jessica Z would be very excited to hear about. We've got some moon tea being door dashed by the mate to Allison for Helena. Helena says her body, her choice. Hell no, she won't go. She is not taking the moon
Sh-
tea.
She's burning bras. She's starting up the whole right to choose movement, taking up pro-choice like crazy.
Life. She wants it to live, but Allison is slut shaming her.
Who is
So
Allison to talk?
so what I found interesting about this was Allison pushing this so heavy. Rhaenyra made the choice, I made the choice, you have to make the choice kind of thing. That was an interesting dynamic. I will say as we go further, I feel like she had to pick a kid. Do you want to save the little one? Do you want to save the one that's inside you? Do you want to save none of them? I feel like Helena wanted to have her cake and eat it too. This
That's
was
the
kind
whole point of cake is eating
this
it.
I feel
It's
like
not like I want to have cake and look at it for 3 years.
I know her name is not Sophie, but she was given a Sophie's choice. I thought it was honorable that she was fighting for her kids more so than Alicent was fighting for her grandkids because this is the one kid she wants to save. I'm sure there's something deep here that is worth time.
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
Allison feeling that she has a read on the situation in the way that Helena doesn't. Because in some ways, Helena is very naive and doesn't understand the Game of Thrones aspect of it, the kill your enemies. And so I think Allison knows that if this is another heir to the throne, that Rhaenyra has no choice. And so I think Allison is trying to save Helena the long-term pain of what could happen with that, but we don't even know that it's a boy. I they're leaning heavily that way.
And it doesn't really matter because even if it's a girl, even with her existing girl, Allison's just leave her, it'll be fine. So I do think there is something to Allison basically prioritizing her own kids' safety, but for her own self worth over her own daughter's children. For Allison, this is her last chance to have a success. But the thing that maybe makes Helena more of a success is that she wants to save her children or protect them maybe a little bit more than Allison would like her to. Final thought on this, and then I'll let you respond. I get what you're saying with Helena, but she also has these visions. So she already knows that Aemon's in Harrenhal. She obviously has this third eye, if you will. And so while she is naive in some ways, she's also ahead of the curve in other ways. Your thoughts there?
Two thoughts. The first is Allison doesn't have a lot that she's in control of anymore. She ruled the kingdom at one point, and now all that she's left with influencing is Helena's behavior. So I think she's just trying to grab onto what control she had.
Unless she wants
The
to let
second
Aemon kiss her again. Go ahead.
yeah, the second observation I have is that the suite that Helena and Allison are living in, I recently watched, I want to say, yeah, it's the end of season 7 of Game of Thrones. Spoiler alert to people that haven't seen it. But there's the whole sept scene that Tommen watches. At one point, Helena says, I want to get away from this window and get away from this place. And she's in the same room with the same screen that Tommen goes out generations later. So it seems like she might have even been foretelling that moment.
So was she saying I need to leave this room?
I think, I don't remember the exact words, but she said something to that effect in the previous episode.
Oh, in this episode, I thought it was like the shocker on your senior trip. I had never heard so many cries to see the moon, but I thought she kept saying she needed to see the moon, is what I heard this episode.
Yeah.
And I didn't know because we've got moon tea. We've got your window. I didn't know where the moon stuff was going.
I wasn't 100% sure myself.
Who's the old broad of Harrenhal? The new the Matlock in a robe that we got as the new person on the King's Council. Do you know who she is?
She just swept in, and my only note is, who is this bitch?
Apparently, she was the one that they originally was promised Harrenhal. I think it was in some sort of quid pro quo with the trade with getting the river folk on board. There was some sort of quid pro quo, but now Harrenhal is being offered to whoever kills Aemon. I find this interesting just because couldn't Damon have just offered it to Alice Rivers and she just finished the job in theory? I feel like we're just a step away from a good trade here.
This is like a battle for bad real estate. I'm waiting for the property brothers to check in.
I feel like we got more than we have this season. The white worm business is back, whereas we've been calling her Massaria, and I feel like that's how kind of she's been described. Obviously, she's been the maestress of whispers, but I don't know that we heard white worm a lot this season, and then I heard it 8 times this episode, halfway joking, not joking. I think what we saw here was Damon in the council meeting defying Rhaenyra. We saw the continuing pissing contest between Massaria and Rhaenyra. I think Massaria was rejected by Rhaenyra twice for info she had. It didn't catch it on first watch, but on my note-taking watch, I think she was trying to tell her about the Alicent and the Moon Tea the whole time. And I think the only reason she doesn't tell it before Alicent confronts her with this, hold it for your own good kind of thing, it would have already been out if Rhaenyra had listened to her. I think that's what I saw here. What did you make of some of this?
The first thing is they need a ball system because everybody's just talking at once in this small council nonsense. Having
Typical
Manderly do
patriarchy, not wanting to break the wheel. Go ahead.
having Manderly do the play-by-play, I would almost like a DVD extra of him just kind of whispering like all the rumors and hot cheese mitt back and forth. I've enjoyed that. And eventually, I'm getting ahead of myself, but the word that Joffrey's back. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but I think that's going to become a casualty kill here pretty quick.
He was sent for in the Vale when Damon went to get the 10,000 shekels.
Yeah, but he wasn't in the Vale.
Oh, yeah, he was
He
in
was put
like
on a ship across the
Essos or.
sea.
Yeah, and we didn't really get any fallout of,
All of a sudden, he's
hey,
back.
yeah, no one's pissed about it either. Maybe we don't have the right kid again. Who knows? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice,
Watch, he's a
shame on
redhead now.
Rainier. So while you're whinging about that, I will say I think Manderly or Torin Manderly or Manderly Torin, whichever way he goes, he's paid off better than I would have expected a character like this to have paid off so far. I'm enjoying him more than I normally would. I think this is also a less is more kind of thing too, though. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think he's stepping right into that. Who was it? Simon Strong, that was like the sneaky good one-liner guy that Aemond killed. I
Yeah.
think he's carrying that mantle.
Turns out, I guess Simon Strong was gay. I don't know if we covered this, but those boys weren't just his boys, they were his boys. I thought those were the strong boys, not strong boys. You know what I'm saying?
I do, but the one knew how to wield his sword. You can ask Aemond.
I will ask Strong in heaven when I meet him there. So, yeah, that was interesting. One funny thing that I did hear Rhaenyra say was she told in Bela that if their beast was fatigued, they definitely needed to rest. Amen to that, sister.
They'll be doing that soon enough.
Yeah, it seems like they're headed towards. I did find it was funny that obviously we know Corliss's gay son did run away with a lover, and now this other son is proposing him and Baylor, his cousin, run away together. But there's something in that blood for wanting to go off together, if you will.
It seems like it. I don't know if they have the Westeros Pornhub channel on step sibling stuff, but they seem to be going there.
They're like, oh, I'm stuck in the dragon's well. So, yeah, old Alan gets the other roughed up one in the dragon's den. Speaking of, if we're just passing cousins
You're
around.
talking Raina, huh?
Yeah, God bless her. And
Matchmaker over
no,
here.
no Ulf this episode. I don't know what that's all about. And one more Amond question. Do you think there's some George R.R. connection between Edmund, who is like the little brother in Narnia, and Amond? They're pretty close. I'm just throwing it out there.
Ed Ormond.
I think they're both second brother in line in the of the brothers. But yeah, while we're on the uncle cousin, and you can never tell if he's going to be abusive or just weird. He definitely has some weird vibes. Was that Westerosian chess they were playing? Do you know what that is?
It seemed like the game on the Millennium Falcon, the hollow chess that you don't want to play against an angry Wookiee because he's going to rip your arms off.
Okay. Now, are we to believe what we're to understand is Ormond is paying off the city people with golden shekels with Darren's face on it as the new prince who was promised.
Yeah, he's got the Franklin Mint making these brand new forms of currency. I guess the counterfeiting law in Westeros hasn't really moved on, but gold is gold, baby.
Jessica Z's keeping them in her boot and they're poking out her eyes. Did you make anything there's this secret society, or there's this guy in the tower that the little boy exchanges info when two of the guards are killed? Is this guy on the Dan's acting hall of shame? I feel like I've seen him somewhere, but I haven't.
To me, they're doing a good job of making him look like nobody. So I know that we've seen him a good handful of times, but I could not pick this dude out of a lineup myself.
I figured you'd seen him on one episode of Law and Order 15 years ago or something like that. And turns out all these people killing the gold cloaks have a history of being cops in old TV shows.
That basically just summed up every prestigious cast I've done for the last 3 years.
So we end up with this Rhaenyra and Damon thing. Is he feels like she just wants revenge sooner versus addressing the problem within the city. He feels connected to the City Watch because he used to be part of it, even though it seemed like he loathed when he was. But they're boys from back in the day. And so as he starts co-jacking all these murders that are taking place, we do get a Varsity Blues speech out of him to the City Watch that they'll get double the shekels and first of the feasts, and all of this stuff is going on. What did you make of Damon's City Watch SVU this episode?
A couple points on Damon. He's right. This threat within the city is worth investigating. Rhaenyra's got these faceless shadows at all turns. She's worried about the sheep stealer thing. She's worried about where Vagar is. She's not too concerned with these enemies right there in King's Landing. And Damon's like, I want to take care of this first because this is right near backyard. And so, to an element, he's right. She has all these threats, but this is an important one. I don't know if her priority listing is right. The Gold Cloaks don't have a lot of intestinal fortitude, or they just don't
Ayo.
have a lot of intestines after
Anymore.
this whole thing goes. And yeah, I had it down as his win-win for the Gipper speech.
I think that's fair. Now, we get this. I don't know how I feel about Westerosian Last Supper imagery because I don't know how it comes together.
Yeah, I don't
But
know the meaning of it, but I had that the Feast of Traitors was definitely Last Supper inspired.
and then though it was also, are we going to end up with the Westerosian Riddler? And he's like, riddle me this. And Damon's got a stack of riddles he's got to solve before the next one gets his gourd ripped open.
So serious, Rhaenyra.
I didn't know what was going on. Here's the thing. I thought that ending was shocking. It was very obviously not the emotional value of a red wedding or some of the bigger moments, but just imagery wise, it was pretty shocking. But I don't know how well it fit what we've come to know from this universe, if that makes sense. This was pretty artistic for what we've come to know
Well,
in a murder.
I agree that imagery wise and production wise, it was well delivered. I think story wise, the head of the Night's Watch or whoever, he's only really he's been in the show, but he's been like such a secondary character that the killing of him and all these people didn't land maybe as strong as if they would have developed his relationship with Damon more or given him an extra bit or to give him a limp or a cousin that's a tiny alien or some sort of extra storyline. But he was such a minor character that this didn't feel like it had the end of an episode punch that I was looking for to match the production value.
I did have Any Given Damon also in my notes.
Oh, there you go.
So there we go. Yeah, so I guess we can get to Aegon and Laris. I was surprised to see Laris so blunt with Aegon finally. I didn't know where that was going to go. This was maybe a good Laris episode.
Yeah,
It
I
might be
agree
the only
because
episode he's been likable ever.
he was spitting the hard facts and I loved it. You do get Aegon doing this feeling sorry for himself, and I don't know if they were going back to try and find Sunfire and Laris was against it. And he does this whole "don't tell me what I can't do," and it was
Well,
very John Locke from Lost. It was like the same speech.
that actually is a pretty good call out, but he actually had, I think, a Sunfire scale. At one point, I was like, is he going to stab him with it? But I think the goal was he wanted to find Aemon or to find his people. And so he wanted to go back to Harrenhal. I think even said, I think Aemon would be there. But then Laris is like, okay, what then? You can barely walk. How are you going to be able to fight your virile, trained younger brother kind of thing? That's how I took it. Then we end up, is it Tyland? Which Lannister of the twins?
They're the same.
T. Lannister. They all look alike to Dan, all the Lannistries. Incest for you. So did you realize that was him at first? It took me a beat on that part.
No, I did pick up on that right away, and I think it's interesting that he met up with them. I think it poses interesting questions because I think he's the only one that knows where the gold is that Rhaenyra is looking for. So I think he could be resourceful that way because remember, it's missing from King's Landing.
Yeah, I think that definitely could be accurate. I was going to say we also have Rhaenyra's guard from Dragonstone, who I think is banished. So at first, because he had a hood on, I was like, is this supposed to be that guy? And then when they sat down, I was like, oh, it's a Lannister kind of thing. So we see, I don't know who the Heckle and Jekyll of the town were, but the lower tier of the Heckle and Jekylls is going to try to go an end around and grab the crown. He's figured it out. And then Aegon, in close quarters, killed him. One other
So
quick
that
note.
wasn't the guy whose boots he kissed?
I thought it was the other guy that he was
Okay.
cleaning, but it could have been the booty kiss. I didn't know. He was cleaning with one, kissing the boot of the other. But also, does it not seem like he's more badly burned every episode? He's doing his best Will Ferrell and Austin Bowers. Every episode, I feel like he's more burned than the previous
Oh,
episode.
now he stabbed me. I'm very badly injured.
Yeah. What do you got from the rest of this?
I think it's interesting that Joffrey's back, although Rhaenyra is so overcome in deficiencies and defaults or whatever that she can't even spend time with him. But I think she could lose another kid here before long.
And I guess to your point in this episode, I guess a question I have, one strength of this season is I think they've done a better job of building out more characters this season than in previous.
And they're in different places.
But
We didn't even talk about Allison and Helena's run for the hills.
yeah, that was going to be part of my final note here, but because I don't think we ultimately get resolution of where they land. Yeah, I guess I would just say, while it's appreciated, supposedly 4 seasons the last season. I don't know if it's 8 or 10 episodes. I don't know that there's a winning answer there, but we've got ultimately 11 episodes left of this show to get to the dance. We've both not read the books. I've only seen some of the Facebook spoilers, so I don't know what ground we have to cover.
And there's a lot of things that have diverged from Fire and Blood.
But I guess my thing is like, I think this is doing a better job of coming closer to Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones is one of the best ever at having so many characters that you're actually invested in, where it's like, do I really give a rat's ass what happens to Aegon, Larys, and Tywin? Not really. Do I really care what happens to Alan and Adam? Not really. How many of these people do we really care about and what's left of the story? So that might be a criticism. I'm enjoying the season overall. I've got it over a 7. I think I still like the first season best. It's rebounded over season 2 though. I think this is clearly better than season 2. But
But we're partway through it, and we've got more of this season to really see before we can.
Yeah, and also that's where I would say with some of how this episode ended, it's let's see where this Feast of Traitors goes. And then to your point on Allison and Helena, I'm confused because I thought she was talking about using the back door in the first place, but then they try to go out the front door, but they end up using the back door anyway. But there's some type of Edgar Allan Poe bricked wall. Like, was that bricked after the cheese and rat fiasco? And Helena drops her lantern in the dark. So that's a cliffhanger, right? And we don't really know where that's headed.
Yeah, so they had this plan to rush out a certain way, and they bribed people, and Masseria cock blocked them. So then they're stuck in the suite, and I thought they Scooby-Dooed their way into a new secret door that they didn't know about. They stumbled into one.
When they originally, it might have been a new one, but when they were originally talking about the plan, Helena was like, are we going through the same tunnels that they killed my kid at? And then they go in a different tunnel. And I think Scooby doing their way through it is a good way to describe it. But yeah, so I don't know where we've landed here. It does seem like the White Worm, is that her name?
Now, I think her name is Masseria. I think her pleasure house was called the White Worm.
But
But I
anyway,
could be wrong on that.
it all of a sudden came up as inappropriate in my head now that I have said it for the 5th time out loud.
Now you get it.
But yeah, like, so it seems like she's holding info back from the queen now, ultimately, right?
Yeah, Allison did make some points to her when they were speaking one-on-one that seemed to have landed. Before she was diehard Rhaenyra, and now I think that she's been put in her corner in a couple small council meetings. She might be just sitting back and seeing how things go.
Now, when Kristen Cole does his speech, I know your favorite part is not the mother or father part, but the stranger part. That's the one you root for. But yeah, that's obviously we've seen, I think the most memorable way the show's ever done it. And when I say the show, I'm just lumping them together, even though I get there's different creative teams. But in Game of Thrones, in the Cersei episode where she blows up the Sept, you've got the Sept speaking with the music and the little birds and all the kind of all laid onto each other. So I think this was a version of that in a different way. Definitely not the thick piano score, but instead of in place of the piano score, you've got Kristen Cole's rah-rah speech to the death. And I also, we didn't cover, but we see a couple of the soldiers leave during his speech, right? They're like, we're not going to die with you.
They're like, we're going to beat traffic before they come out for the encore at the end of the rock concert.
Yeah, he's like, we are all going to go die. And they're like, who is we? And then also the cats in the Scooby-Doo hall, I think, are what ultimately scared Helena into dropping that.
And they could be what saves her. Oh, it's the cats to the
Cats in the
rescue.
Cradle and the Silver Moon or whatever that is. Is that what the
Or
moon's
the
all about?
rescuers down under. I don't know.
Anything you want to close on here?
No, I'm curious to see how it plays out. Plan to be back next week.
Cool. We will be back next week for that, and I will be back in a few days with more wrestling. And yeah, see you later, alligator.